So I've never watched an episode of Demon Slayer, this anime that is most likely the most popular anime in the world right now, but I did get invited to a local press screening for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle, and I thought, listen, if they slay demons like I do, I know what they're going to have. They're going to have anointing oil, of course, and they're going to have the Word of God. But then I learned that's not how they slay demons in this movie. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm in for quite the ride. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today we're getting into my spoiler-free thoughts, even though this movie spoiled pretty much the entire series, for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, which is called Infinity Castle. It's parts 1 of 3 of this final trilogy for the Demon Slayer anime. It is a huge IP. Like, people at this screening were dressed up to the nines, like Tanjiro and all these different characters, and I thought, you know what? Wow, this thing is really popular, and the screening was actually pretty packed. There were audible gasps. I heard people crying, and there were lots of clapping, and I'm sitting here like trying to remember every character's name, please. But it got to be, well, I would say intense, sometimes in a good way, and sometimes it just kind of lost me. But before I even get into my positives and my negatives, guys, if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you don't want to miss out, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, and like this video, because guess what? I am embarking on my journey through Attack on Titan, and I am almost done with the entire series. So if you want to see me react to the series finale for the very first time, let me know in the comments below. But for today, we're talking all about this Demon Slayer movie, which is in theaters September 12th. Thank you, Sony Pictures, for giving me the chance to watch this in theaters for review. The runtime shocked me, guys. It's 2 hours and 35 minutes. Is this normal? Because apparently Demon Slayer has had like 6 movies or something up to this point. So 2 hours and 35 minutes I thought was a very long runtime for this. I thought it would be like an hour and 30. But when I found out it's part 1 of 3 of this finale trilogy, I guess it makes sense. The movie is directed by Haruo Sotozaki and Hikaru Kondô, and because I watched the sub version, which is the Japanese voice track and English subtitles, the voice cast included a lot of people. Some I don't really know or am familiar with, but I'm pretty sure these are the same voice actors from the anime. We have Tanjiro, who is voiced by Natsuki Hanae. We even have Akira Ishida, who voices Akaza, which is actually a really crazy, complicated character. And we have Saori? Oh, I hope I pronounced that right. Hayami, who voices Shinobu. I think I remember this character's arc in this movie, and it was sad. And then we have Hiro Shimono, who voices Agatsuma, who is like the thunder something. It was really thunder breathing, I think it's called. It was pretty darn cool. Now again, please don't get mad at me if I misremember characters' names or mispronounce voice actors' names, because this is also brand new to me, so you're getting like my fresh reaction here to Demon Slayer, which I didn't know included a lot of sword fighting, which is awesome, and then they name their moves, which I thought was really cool. At first I was confused, but I'm gonna be honest, y'all. This is where I want to get started with the positives, because when it comes to the action in this movie, whoa. Now, I don't know if this is the norm or the standard for the anime, but in the film, the very first shot, I was like, wow, this is breathtaking. And then we get into the action, and I'm like, it's even more breathtaking. I was able to track all the movements, and I didn't get motion sickness, but my eyes were shifting around like a ping pong ball, partly due to the fact also because, unfortunately, the screen wasn't adjusted properly. So, like, the top, chunk, like a little chunk of it was cut off, so I was like looking up and looking down, but it was really cool. And there was this one character, Mr. Giyu, I think his name is, who's with Tanjiro the whole movie, and he does this like water bending thing. Listen, y'all know, if you've been following the channel, I'm a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, and Katara is my favorite character in Avatar, but also one of my favorite characters of all time. So of course I'm going with somebody who's from the Water Tribe. But when it comes to the actual movements in and out of sequences, it was really solid for me, very smooth. Clearly, there's a budget for this film, and I really loved the work that they did with telling the story within the action. Now, there are some moments where the movie sort of goes off into a very long side plot, which we'll get into in the negatives, but I actually really loved what they did with the action here. As someone who's a newbie with Demon Slayer, the action is probably why this show is so popular, right? Or maybe it's the storytelling, but for me, the action is just top notch. I also really appreciated the unorthodox storytelling in this movie, for better and for worse, because on the good side, this wasn't structured like your traditional feature-length film, whether it be in the anime, animation, or live-action space. I liked that they were able to give us a lot of different plots, like the B plot and the C plot, within the context of the fighting. But for someone who is not caught up on Demon Slayer, I was admittedly a little lost. The movie doesn't do the worst job at sort of catching you up, but again, I didn't have that emotional attachment to the film, so I'm going to tell you now that the audience did and they liked it. So according to them, this worked. So I liked the fact that they did spend some time with both our protagonist and the antagonist of this film. And it was really cool to see this big villain origin story on display, this character Akaza. And we learned so much about this character, especially in the third act of the movie. And I thought it was pretty solid. You can tell that there is a clear style and direction here, and if it's anything like the previous entries in this franchise, I'd have to imagine fans are going to be happy. Now, the Infinity Castle idea was a little confusing to me. I will say that they do drop you in right away, so it feels like it's a continuation, a direct sequel, probably to the show. If I'm not mistaken, it's a direct sequel to the 4th season, if I'm not mistaken. But it is a very interesting way to tell a story, so I did appreciate that. There's also this sense of community in the film that is felt because I noticed a lot of characters were calling each other big brother, big sister. And I thought that was kind of cool. Clearly, this world is in a frenzy. Like, there's this, like, main demon, like, starts with an M. I forgot its name. And then there's everybody else, right, that's trying to fight this guy. But they have the upper ranks, they have lower ranks, and there's a lot of lore in this, so it is very lore heavy. I, of course, can't even critique that because I am not caught up on this lore, but it was, again, you could tell it was a very lived-in world, and I think that was the one thing that came across very well in the movie is that people have been along for this ride, so we're going to give the people what they want. So I really appreciated that. I thought they really excelled in that area, but also the voice acting. The voice acting was really solid in this movie, whether it be an enemy. There's this like one demon that like has this like joyful sort of, but not really joyful attitude. Like he's weird. But then you have the other voice actors for they call themselves the Demon Slayer Corps, and they have a lot of passion, and there's a lot of intensity infused in their voice acting, and it really worked. It got me into the film, and I was immersed. I won't say that I was immersed the whole time, but I did really enjoy, for the most part, what this voice cast delivered, and I'm glad I saw it in Japanese. I thought it maybe added a little bit more immersion. Not saying that the dubbed version would be any worse, because I'm watching Attack on Titan. It's dubbed, and I'm still getting that emotion, especially from Eren, but I thought it was really cool to see how this voice cast came together. It did work for me in that area. And I also love the musical composition in this film. The score is beautiful, it's intense, but it really, really worked. It might have been the best part of the film. Now, I hope that's not an insult, but like between the animation and the music, it was unreal. The composer here, I gotta get their name, just did a great job with the material that they wrote for the movie. There were actually two composers here. You have Yuki Kajiura and Go Shina. And man, oh man, did they deliver on every front. There's like some piano tracks during the action, and then there's like heavy guitar riffs, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is this what the show was all like? But wow, it was really well done. So again, lots of good takeaways from Infinity Castle. However, I want to get into the negatives because I didn't love my time with this movie. I can't lie to you, I am coming at it from a very fresh perspective, so there were a lot of elements of this movie that I just could not wrap my head around, but also fall in love with. They do this thing very often in the middle of big action set pieces where they take you out to put you into a story, whether you're getting more backstory for a protagonist or more backstory for an antagonist like Akaza. Now, there's good and there's bad with that. The good is, of course, you're building out this universe some more, but the bad is it spends too much time, and it's almost a little melodramatic at times, and I did not like that at all. I thought maybe they were playing it up too much. Like the drama, it was already there. It's a tragic story for a lot of these characters, but why are we harping on it? Why are we lingering? We're lingering too long. There's sometimes too much talking, and that did draw me out. I won't lie to you. I was getting a little heavy in my eyes in that third act because by then I was a little exhausted. Maybe my brain's working overtime trying to figure out everyone's name and figure out their stories, but I didn't love a lot of that side plot development. It did feel like it dragged a little too much for me. Maybe fans loved it. Maybe they won't love it, but as someone who is so fresh with a new pair of eyes on this IP, I feel like if this is Demon Slayer's MO, I'm not necessarily sold on going back and trying to catch up on the anime to be ready for parts 2 and 3 of this final trilogy. That's probably the biggest weakness for this movie, which is nothing got me too intrigued enough to where I want to go and binge watch this series. It's not to say it's a bad anime, right? I'm not the biggest anime fan in the world anyway. Attack on Titan's awesome, and I got some OGs, of course, in my pocket from growing up. But I don't necessarily feel like enough grabbed me in this movie, and I don't really want to go back for part 2 and 3. Does that change over time? I don't know. But for me, as I was walking out of the theater, I was just almost too exhausted. And of course, there's a chance that if I would have caught up on the series, or if I was already a fan, I would have appreciated all of the time they spent on these characters. And that's not to say that this sunk the movie for me, but for almost 2.5 hours, I don't know. I think they needed to focus maybe more on the main plot, the action and stuff, and then why give us so much side plot? I know they got to stretch this thing out for 3 films, but I don't know. Could you have done it maybe in 2 movies? Because I don't see how this can stretch over 3 films. I know that the main character, Tanjiro's sister, they're trying to exorcise this demon out of her because she's not all the way gone or something like that. They only touch on that maybe once or twice in this film. I think it's only once. So I don't know. It felt like there just wasn't enough for the film to really justify the runtime. But also for 3 movies, you're going to stretch this story across 3 films. I find that a little hard to believe. I don't know how they're going to succeed in that regard, but maybe fans love it. Maybe they don't. As for this guy, I feel like the movie has really good elements to it. So my final thoughts are the animation's incredible, the voice acting is awesome, the music is great in this movie, and there's a clear style and direction, which I really appreciated. Do I like the unorthodox storytelling? To an extent, yes. But there's a big chunk of that I don't like, and I can't tell you I wrapped my head all the way around the way that they told this story, and I came away from the movie just a little too exhausted. I appreciate the art. I don't necessarily know if I love the final product. So if I had to even rate this film, I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. I know that sounds low, but again, this is somebody who doesn't really watch Demon Slayer, so that plays into it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, though. So let me know down below in the comments what you think of my initial impressions of Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. And if you, of course, have more thoughts, start the conversation below. And subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear you in the comments more often if you haven't already. And like this video and share it with your friends who watch the show who might be mad at me. No, actually don't do that. I'm kidding. But y'all, there you have it. That's my real review of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Infinity Castle. It'll hit theaters this weekend, so I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. And I'm gonna now go and figure out about this Akaza guy. That was a little sad, you know. Let me stop. Alrighty, y'all. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening.